Welcome to Hello Church. I'm Wade Bearden.
And I'm Justin Trapp, and today we're going to be talking about how to increase generosity at your church. Now, Wade, I love the fall.
Yeah, the fall's my favorite season, especially in Texas too, because it's so hot, and then it's just like, oh, finally. Finally
relief.
It's over. Now, fall is much shorter in Texas because it does take a while to get going. But once it's here, I think it lasts a little bit longer because it doesn't get as cold in the winter.
I love the fall too. Most of the Houston area is nothing but pine trees, but for whatever reason we got lucky, and right around our offices there's a lot of oak trees and a lot of trees that lots of sweet gums, right? But over a period of a few days, the leaves turn and it just becomes this fall wonderland right outside the office here. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and you don't see the snakes in the yard anymore because the leaves cover them.
Yeah, they're camouflaged.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. It's not as frightening. We're going to talk about generosity. And a lot of times when we think about generosity, we think of, how can we get more people to give to our church? We're thinking bigger than that.
Yeah.
How do you help your people become more generous in general? And I think the best time to do that is right before Christmas, during Thanksgiving. This is when people are primed to think about generosity, and we really need to help them along in that path.
Well, they are in the Christmas spirit, so to speak.
Yeah. Even before the Christmas season gets there, we're already kind of
like November 1st, Christmas tree goes up, bro. Yeah, we're not even talking. That will change this episode completely. We'll just spend half an hour on that. But they're in the Christmas spirit. They haven't spent all of their money on Christmas presents. They don't have Christmas present buying remorse yet, they do the week after, or when they get that credit card statement January 15th. They are just in the giving mood. And so this is a perfect time to harness this season to really leverage this moment and help foster a stronger culture of generosity at your church for your people and their community. And so we have a few ideas on how you can do that. First, let's start with a few sermon series.
Yeah, I think it's good that if you're going to talk about generosity, do it kind of everywhere. And the best place to begin is a sermon series. And so you want to pick a series that deals with the topic of generosity. There are a lot of places in the Bible that talk about generosity and thankfulness. And what I love too with sermon series, and especially at Ministry Pass, we begin with, what do we have to be thankful for? Mm-hmm. What have we been given? And of course, that's Jesus. We've been given Jesus. And then the second part of the sermon series focuses on, what should our response be to the people around us? It's like the parable with the ungrateful servant. The ungrateful servant is forgiven much, but doesn't forgive, because he didn't quite understand what was done to him. He hadn't fully grasped that. Help people grasp what they have been given, and they will in turn give that to other people. A couple of ideas that we have on Ministry Pass. This year we have a series called Thank is one word, and then Full, Full. Full of thanks, right? Thankful. We're full of all that God's given us and we want to give to other people. We have one called, this one's really great, The Lost Art of Gratitude. And I think everything that needs to be said about that sermon series is in the title, The Lost Art of Gratitude.
I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Gary Vee, curses like a sailor, but this guy is on a mission, and he's teaching millennials and college students to be grateful. And if Gary Vee is the leading voice of of us learning to be grateful, we've missed our opportunity as pastors, as spiritual leaders in our community.
Oh man, we have another series too called Enough is Enough. It's about finding contentment. We just aren't content.
Yeah.
I mean, because we have access to everyone else's world. We see our world and we always compare it to everybody else's, and we're just not content. So helping people kind of understand that is important. We have another sermon series.
It's a giveaway.
Yeah, it's a giveaway. It's called Thanks and Giving. This is a really cool graphic. It's a really great series about thankfulness and also giving to other people. So when we talk about thankfulness and gratitude at Ministry Pass, it's more than just being thankful. It's now that we're thankful, what does that compel us? How should that change our hearts? How can we respond to that? So making sure you're connected to the Father, because when you have that vertical, right? The horizontal comes into place.
Yeah, so that's a free download. We'll have the link in the show notes for you, and you can download that entire sermon series, and that's brought to you by our team here at Ministry Pass. They worked really hard on that, and it's actually been a really popular series the past few seasons. So another thing, a few ideas to how to cultivate generosity in your community is really to do a little mini campaign. Set a goal. Pick a theme, right, of something that your congregation can rally around. Not just a monetary goal, but something, whether it's you're partnering with a local nonprofit and you're going to be doing some sort of a blood drive or a food drive, whatever the case may be, do something. Pick something specific that everyone can rally together.
Yeah. And you can do, I mean, there's so many different ways.
It could be corporate. It could be individual.
Yeah. I mean, it could be one of those things where it's like, okay, every day this week, bring diapers to the church.
Yeah.
Or next week, every day, let's bring this to the church. Even if your church is small, I've been in churches that were smaller. And so what we did was just choose like 2 families. And inside your congregation, outside your congregation, we just help them with Thanksgiving dinner. You can contact your local school district. This is what we're doing at our church, which is really cool. And we call the local school district and we say, hey, are there families in need? And they'll actually say, yeah, there's some children that have lost parents this season, and you can help out those families. So there's just so many things to do. Set a goal and do a mini campaign. And as you're preaching about it, say, hey, this is one way to apply what you're learning. Just one way, but let's do that. And hopefully you'll create that culture where that isn't out of the norm, but it's something that you're doing all the time.
Well, one of the things our church did growing up was we partnered with a children's home. I believe it was a sort of a rescue center for kids, and so they, the time to do like a Christmas campaign or to partner with this children's home for December is really to start doing it in November. And so they would do this campaign, and we would sort of adopt a kid, so to speak, and then they would bring all the kids. They bust the kids in. And they join our service, and all the kids would open up the Christmas presents from the different families at the church right there on stage. And it was like one of my favorite things. Like, we do a big Christmas production and all that. That was fun. But the really, really special services were when the Pleasant Children came to the service and they opened their presents in front of everybody, and everyone got to enjoy that moment and see the joy on their faces. And so you could do something like that. Andy Stanley, his church, North Point, they do something called Be Rich, and they have Be Rich. I believe is it BeRich.org now, where you can be involved as sort of year round. But they've done like one particular weekend where it's like a Be Rich weekend where you can donate and have different causes and stuff like that. So really pick a theme. Pick something to do and have everyone move towards that goal, move towards that event, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and even too, like, I like what you said about every year we would support this children's home. Finding those ministries and creating that consistent support to where it's not like, oh, wow, we're supporting this place this year. It's, oh, yeah, we do this every single year. Like, this is a part of our culture, and we will always do this. I think that can be so beneficial.
Another thing that you can do, and it sounds really vanilla, right, and bland, but I'm telling you, it will make a difference. Do an annual report at the end of the year. An annual report of all the money that's been taken in and what it's gone to. Do an annual report of the baptisms. Like, how many people, maybe this year's a little bit different, but how many people does your church baptize every year? And how encouraging would that be to someone to see a graphic where it showed we had 47 people baptized this year. We had 212 people baptized this year. That's encouraging to people. And then share some of those stories. People are so encouraged and inspired by stories. And if you can encapsulate just a few of those baptism stories and show those at the end of the year, that means, that's just one thing. But if you do an annual report, you can showcase everything that God has done at your church through the people's generosity.
Yeah. And another tip is, and I think a lot of people are beginning to realize this anyway, but growing up for me, I felt like giving was kind of a guilt thing. It was these really touching, overly dramatic stories sometimes, and it was like it really kind of guilted you into giving, and then you didn't hear anything for months and months. The feeling would go away, and then later you'd hear that again. Create the culture where you're speaking to people as if they already are being generous. You're saying, hey, we have high ideals here. Let's meet those ideals. And instead of just relying on like a guilt story, you say we're going to create the culture of generosity, and we're not just going to guilt people into it, but we're going to show them the power of what they can do when they're generous. And that, once again, that always goes back to, hey, what has God done through to us through Christ? And that's important. And I think a lot of churches realize that, but it's always important to be reminded of that.
Yeah, and don't just share the stories of showcase the stories of people that like made a big donation to your church. That's really awesome, right? But like, what if like Nancy at your church paid for someone's groceries right in front of her or behind her at the grocery store, and then the person that they paid the groceries for did that to somebody else? I mean, we've heard like Starbucks line, all that, but highlight those stories too, because it's important that your people, of course, it's great, right, for them to tithe and share their offerings with your church and the Lord, but also you want your people to be just generous people, everywhere, whether it's at your church or in their homes or to their neighbor, whatever the case may be. So highlight all of those stories. Don't just be self-serving with the stories that you share. Highlight all of the different types of generosity that's being displayed at your church.
Yeah, and if you're starting a series on generosity, let's say in a couple weeks, it's important that you go back and say, okay, who did we support over the last year, and get those stories. So at the very beginning of the campaign, you're saying, hey, here's some people we've already supported and we want to do more. So you have stories at the beginning and you have stories at the end.
Michael on our team here, he used to be a missionary in Haiti. And he was my favorite missionary. Ministry Pass, we support several church planners and missionaries, and he was my favorite one. I mean, I love you all, but I would get regular updates from Michael. He would send us pictures. Hey, we just finished painting the school today for the orphanage. Here's the before and after. Here's a picture of some kids that they just were accepted into the program. They're so excited. They had their first, their best meal they've had in a long time. I felt like I was a part of what God was doing halfway around the world all the time, because he would send me these regular updates. A lot of times we don't get those updates, so we just don't know. We're giving, right? You have people that are giving faithfully to your church, but if you don't show those, it's just a missed opportunity. I would never like stop giving or donating to what he was doing in Haiti, because I was so excited that every time I got a new update, it would just never stop.
Yeah, that's really great. We'd love to hear your thoughts too about generosity. How do you create that culture in your church? What sermon series you're going to preach on this November as you talk about thankfulness and gratitude? I also want to let you know too that we have recently released our calendars for 2021 on Ministry Pass. We've got our calendars released every year: the topical calendar, the expository calendar that either goes through topics thematically or through books of the Bible or passages. We also have the lectionary calendar. We have the Bible in 1 year calendar. It's 52 weeks long. We have our youth pastor calendar, our children's pastor calendar. They're really amazing. And you'll notice that we want to help you plan out what we're talking about today. So for instance, in 2021 in November, we have a series called The Greatest Month of Generosity Ever on the calendar. I think it's going to be really good. So when we plan out these calendars, we are trying to leverage the seasons and to help you leverage the season. So if you haven't checked those out, go to ministrypass.com. I think you're going to be blessed by them. I think they're incredible. I think they're the best we've ever done this year. Yeah. I say it every year, but I really do think that.
Hey, next episode on Hello Church, we're going to be talking about how to create a promotional plan for your Christmas services that it just attracts a lot of people. You get a lot of people to show up. You get a lot of people to watch your stream. How do you do that, right? How do you market your services and get more people to show up? We're going to give you a step-by-step plan. I'm not going to give it away now, but I'm going to give you a step-by-step plan. It's really simple. You know what I did there.
Yeah.
And you have to check out the next episode to see it. But it's called the Christmas Marketing Blueprint, and I am excited to share it with you.
Make sure to subscribe to Hello Church wherever you get either your podcasts or your videos. You can do so on YouTube. Make sure to ring the bell so you get notifications whenever we release a new episode. Also on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts, you can subscribe to us. Either listen to audio or audio and video. And until next time, we'll see you later on Hello Church.